Okay, it is 6:01, and I will call this meeting of the Lunenburg Town Council to order. Heather, I'll just wait for you to bring Councillor Halverson over from the attendee side. There he is. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are meeting in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Also note that Councillor Duggan has sent her regrets for this meeting. And with that, I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Councillor Sanford, seconded by Councillor Bertels. Any additions or deletions to note? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Takes us on to the meeting minutes for January 25th. Can I get a motion to approve those as circulated? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Sanford. Any errors or omissions to note? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. There are no public hearings, presentations, or questions. That takes us on to correspondence and proclamations consideration. There is a proclamation request from Wear Red Canada for February 13th. Can I get a motion to approve that as presented? Moved by Councillor Ernst, seconded by Councillor Sanford. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. That takes us on to, there's no business arising from the minutes. There's 2 committee meeting minutes circulated for recommendation. That takes us on to new business. First item is a fire truck purchase. Councillor Bertels, I believe you wanted to declare a conflict on this. I suppose you can just stop your video. That's how we'll note that. All right, so there is a report and a motion that's been circulated. Is it anybody's pleasure to move that motion? Moved by Councillor Ernst, seconded by Councillor Mosier. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Councillor Bertels, yes, you're free to rejoin us. Then there's a motion on the electric utility, LED light conversion study, staff report and recommendation. Can I get a motion to approve that as circulated, that draft motion is presented rather? Councillor Bertels, second, is there a seconder? Deputy Mayor, Lisa, do you want to summarize your report for us?
Apologies, your here the as a need to like there an RE.
I'm sorry, Lisa. Is everyone else, is Lisa broken for everybody else? Yeah.
Yes, for me.
Unfortunately,
Lisa, I'd suggest you just turn your video off. We may be able to hear you.
okay.
Thank you.
Is that any better?
Much.
Okay, well, there we go. I had put out a study for the LED streetlights and to help us frame up this project that has to be completed by the end of the year. And unfortunately, the prices have come in a little higher than the budget amount, and requesting an increase in that budget.
Okay. So it has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, debate, questions for Lisa? Councillor Halverson.
I see there is a public component to this. Going back to the original LED street light conversion, there was some talk about the temperature of the light to make sure it, wasn't too white, wasn't too yellow, that kind of thing. Just want to make sure that there is allowance in this proposal to allow for that and make that a consideration when we're before we make our final decision on what LEDs are going in?
That is the plan, Alverson. We hope to have like a narrow down sort of selection and then have a final consultation at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Deputy Mayor?
I'm trying to get this done for my first council, so thank goodness we're finally at this stage.
All right. Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Council chamber AV upgrades. There is a draft motion. Is it anybody's pleasure to move that as circulated? Councillor Sanford, seconded by Councillor Halverson. Heather, if you would be so kind as to just summarize your staff report.
Yes, thank you. As we know, there's a democratic right that our public has to participate in council meetings, whether in person or virtually. The equipment that's currently in the council chamber was all purchased when we only did in person and there was no live streaming component. We've added a few bits and pieces here and there to make the live streaming possible, but as we're aware, it's not a comprehensive system. So we've had ongoing technical problems of one thing and another. So a couple of different AV suppliers were reached out to based on recommendations from other municipal units. The one I'm recommending here, Ivan's AV, have done installations in all of our close neighbors, Mahone Bay, MODL, and Bridgewater, and it varies quite a lot from small to more complex setups. Their recommendation really replaces pretty much wholesale the audio system, which will help us with some of the feedback we've been experiencing. And I'm recommending we also get different monitors from them to replace the consumer TVs that are intermittent in their connectivity. So this should set us up. It reuses as much as possible. And it does also include a couple of different furniture purchases for staff who are presenting in the room to get rid of that large, very heavy table. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Heather. Are there any questions at this stage? Councillor Halverson.
Thanks. I appreciate, I see the two quotes here. I guess, you know, we're obviously looking at this and it's there's going to be some sticker shock here for people. It's a lot of money. I mean, this stuff costs what it costs. It's like anything else. But I do wonder about buying the purpose-built monitors as opposed to, have you had any discussions with Ivans at this point to see if they could reuse the two displays we have in the council? Is my first question. The second question is, the table seems to be working. Do we need to spend money on more tables?
The table is not very popular with staff. It's quite uncomfortable. And they've been catching and tearing clothes on it. It's a pretty old piece and it's kind of rickety. So that was a request from them to try and change that out while we're at it. So that's that one. And then as far as the monitors go, we could reuse them. That's kind of more my concern because the monitors we have are commercial smart TVs. So they have a lot of different inputs and they frequently try to look for other inputs and won't see the computer. So it can be very frustrating to just plug it in. With a commercial monitor that's all it does, that's all it will see. And we're able to gang those together using a different type of cable than we can use with the televisions. My thought with the TVs is that they could be repurposed in other meeting spaces in the building. For instance, the meeting room on the first floor, they could be wall mounted and have a patch there so that people can look at materials there and whatever other spaces we could use them in.
Okay. I understand, I appreciate what you're doing there, but I am trying to look after the dollars and cents here. I'm not against going for the commercial monitor if it's the right thing, but if we can speak with Ivans first and see if, again, we're going for a new system here. So if they're developing, bringing some new technology in, perhaps they've got a better way of making sure that those monitors do see the correct or the monitors project the correct inputs into your computer. Whatever we can do to save. I mean, I don't see the price broken out in front of me. I know it's here somewhere. But anyway, it's $1,000 or a couple $1,000. If we can save that money, I think we should explore that option.
I can certainly discuss it with them.
Mhm.
And I should also mention too, there was a third quote that didn't make this report. Another one from AVI SPL, but for a wired solution, which came down roughly 10 grand.
Why wasn't the wireless or wired solution considered?
Yeah, they came back with another one. So there should be one in the middle here, but it's about 65 versus, it came down about 10,000.
So Ivans was 22.6. The
Correct.
other one was around 65. The other was 75. So Ivans is still far and away the cheaper option.
Okay. Any other questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Your Worship. Through to Heather, will this, will the monitors be set up a little more convenient for the entire council? I mean, like, for instance, 3 of us are back onto the monitor. So is some thought given to the logistics of this?
Yes, definitely. One of the other problems we've been having with the commercial TVs is they don't like being on the other side of the room. We're having a lot of difficulty getting signal unless it's close. But with the commercial monitors, they're on a different type of cable, and that won't be an issue. So we'll be able to set them up either side.
Okay, any further questions? Councillor Halverson?
So I've got too much familiarity with all this.
I know, I should send you a copy. I should have sent you a copy of all the technical specs.
Yeah, I just know that, yes, I understand the issue you're having there with trying to get the television to communicate. I mean, there are signal boosters, which would be a lot less money than.
Which I have actually tried that. I have bought 2.
Right. And again, this is not a knock on your abilities, but this is not, you're not an AV expert. We're talking to an AV expert. When we have them in, perhaps we could say, look, here's stuff we've got. Can we make this work with, to save us a couple dollars? So
we could absolutely ask them to still perhaps try to wire them the way they were thinking of. And if we're still having a difficulty, I can come back to you if that's your preference.
yeah. And again, look, whatever makes it work, because right now it's unworkable what we have. We're all fully aware of that. I'm not averse to spending the money if that's the only solution, but if we can try and find some ways to cut a few dollars off this, I think we, just jumping on one quote right now before we explore what our options are with the materials we have and buying and a combination of new things, I think we should explore that first before we commit.
Yeah, they have actually looked at all the equipment we have. And so this is why we're reusing things like the audio PA and items like that, and one of the mixing boards and so on, so that we can reuse as much as possible, including stands.
Okay, so what was their comment about the monitors then?
The issue with the monitors was more my issue with the monitors, because they just aren't very consistent in terms of connecting to the laptop. Mm-hmm. So their initial quote didn't include that. I just asked them to include a price for commercial monitors if in case we wanted to consider that.
Okay.
Okay.
But the total in the chart includes that.
It includes the monitors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a question, Heather,
Yes.
just briefly. In terms of the live stream, how will these upgrades affect video quality for the viewer?
This particular system would reuse the static camera. It is possible to expand the system, which we might want to look at in future when other renovations may be taking place in the building. There is let me try that again. That system can expand to include cameras that are automated that would move to the person who's speaking. So we could put two in on either side and be able to pick up. So that would be greatly improved. This situation is still going to use a static camera, but we can certainly look at moving it.
So that'll be next at some point.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Right.
what I had asked them was that we need to do this much right now, and we might be able to look at something more expanded in future.
Okay, Counselor Halverson.
Sorry, don't mean to monopolize the time here, but
That's okay.
I do wonder about that static camera. I thought there was, again, I saw the audiovisual option. I assume the cameras were in there as well. So there's no new cameras. That really is one of the complaints we're getting to, is the fact that you can't, see us when like this is great because you can, read our expressions and see that we're paying attention, and all that kind of things. So what is the cost for, a set of cameras or something that would improve the video component of this for people watching from home?
I'd have to actually ask them that. I didn't get them to quote me that because that was something we were thinking of for later, but I can definitely get a quote and get back to you.
Wasn't that included in the
It's in
AVI
there.
SPL quote?
The automated cameras are in the AVI quote, but I don't know if it would be comparable with Ivan's.
Okay, well, that doesn't look like this quote is, these two quotes are comparable then, if you're throwing automated cameras in and not in one and not the other.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I didn't request automated cameras. They just put them in. I can tell you how,
okay,
yeah, I can tell you in a moment how much they were. 1 second.
okay.
Okay. Assuming they're broken out, I'm just gonna see.
Hmm.
Oh, here we go. And a conference camera with an optical zoom in the AVI system is $4,329 each.
Okay, and do you need two to capture the entire room, or does it not spend 360, or does it only go 180 degrees?
I don't believe it goes 360. So to have one set to get half the room and one set to get the other, I think would be needed, but I can confirm that.
Yeah.
And I could find out from Ivan's what adding the camera system at this stage would involve.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none. Any discussion or debate? Counselor Halverson.
At this point, I don't feel comfortable just voting on this one, because I do feel there's a little more work to be done to make sure we get a system that will get us through. I know this is going to be an interim fix. We're talking about at some point there will be an upgrade made to town hall. At that point, we can make a serious investment. But I think at this point we should try and look at what's the best value for money that we can do in the interim. And I think we need to explore, a better camera, and maybe reusing the monitors we have. Maybe the two will offset each other. So I'm not entirely comfortable putting this motion to a vote. I would actually rather put this off to another meeting, which would be my motion, if I can make that, until we get some more information, and then bring it back, and perhaps give Heather some time to do that and bring it back at our next meeting.
Okay. Counselor Halverson moving to defer. Is there a seconder for that? Counselor Sanford. Is there any discussion or debate on the motion to defer? The only discussion I'd offer is that I'm not in favor of deferring, if only because I don't think that voting on this precludes adding stuff as we go along. Heather, I'm correct in that, am I not?
That's correct. If we decide we'd like to add, if we decide we want to add, I can bring that kind of cost back to you that you can
Okay.
decide you want to add. And if we don't find that we require the new monitors, I'll speak to them again about that. We just don't spend that money.
Okay. So any discussion, further discussion on deferral? Seeing none, all those in favor of deferring? Opposed? Motion's defeated. That returns us to the main motion of moving forward with the audio component of this. It has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. That takes us on to item D, the anti-racism regional approach. There is a staff report and there is a recommended motion. Can I get somebody to move that as it's been circulated? Moved by Councillor Halverson, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Heather, if there's anything you wanted to speak to here.
So just that it had come through the mayors and warden and CAO's meeting, which Mayor Rizzer was in attendance for, of course. And it came from the town of Bridgewater to suggest that because there are many of the membership at our various committees are coming from different municipalities. So we're really duplicating efforts. So what some of our other municipal partners would like is to follow a bit of the model of the joint accessibility for Lunenburg County and create something similar for an anti-racism joint approach. And our consultants also presented to the group and explained sort of similar. They supported that kind of an approach made a lot of sense for Lunenburg County, given how close together most of the units are.
Okay. Any discussion or debate on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Takes us on to the REMO budget. There's a motion there. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that motion? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Birtles. There is any discussion or debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. All right, that takes us on to meeting in camera. If I can get a motion to meet in camera. First went to section 22 of the Municipal Government Act to discuss the items listed, moved by Councillor Sanford, seconded by Councillor Ernst. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried, and we will take a 10-minute recess while we reconvene in camera.